So now I want to change gears and look at the videography side of things. I like Canon camcorders. These are older camcorders. They're a couple of generations old, um, but I get them off eBay for not a lot of money, less than $100, and they're good to go. And I can still buy the batteries. Everything else works for me. I don't use very many of their features, so used is fine for me. I do look at this. What is important to me? There's a couple of things on this for me. First of all, let's have a look over here at this bottom left. Can you see that sort of diameter 43? That tells me there are some screw threads here, 43 millimeters in diameter. So I can screw on a neutral density filter, excuse me, and that's what's leaning up against the strap there. Neutral density filter is like a pair of sunglasses for the camera. When you are videoing your hot work, the hot work is like a light bulb, and it's like shining your camera into the light bulb. It doesn't work so well. You can expose the light bulb okay, but everything else starts to get really dark. So it'd be nice if you can diminish the light bulb a little bit, and that is what is a neutral density filter. I use an ND2 and I use an ND4, typically not more than that. And this is where I get them from. It's important to me they're glass, not plastic. This one you can see is 37 millimeters. So mine is 43. I would have to get the 43. This is kind of handy. This is a universal size. So you can buy adapters from your camcorder up and down to 37 millimeters. This is useful if you're using your iPad or your iPhone or those type of things. Because they can come with a sleeve for putting on filters. Not too bad a price, and they really make a difference to the outcome of your video. This is a holder for an iPad, if you wish it, and you can see it's got 3 feet up here for holding either a light or a microphone or something like that. You've got 2 handles, which keeps it reasonably stable if you're the photographer. And would you believe there is a method for screwing in a tripod at either end and at the bottom, so you can use this on on a tripod mount. The other thing is it comes with this big screw thread in here, and that will allow you to fit in a 37 millimeter lens, and that was what we just looked at before. So these are kind of useful. I do have one of these, this exact one in fact, and I use it occasionally, I suppose. Back to the camera. For zoom, you're going to typically narrate over the top of the video. So having mic in at the zoom level is probably not important to you. But on a YouTube, you might find it is important to you. With a dedicated mic, that you've got a mic on your lapel or something like that, or a head mic, you've got the mic going straight in, and you get rid of all the ambient noise around and about. So having this dedicated mic port is important, and a lot of camcorders do not have this. The Canon does. So I like the fact that I've got this, and then I can play this on my TV if I had one, or to I think that goes to a TV or to a digital projector, etc., or to my computer. So all of these I find quite useful. Tripod. I like tripods, and I don't want the lightest tripod. I actually like a heavy tripod, because as I'm working on the anvil, those vibrations are going through the base, and I've even got my anvil isolated from the rest of the floor. I cut the floor out and put a 2-foot lump of concrete in there, but still I get some vibrations. So I want the tripod to be as heavy as possible so it doesn't bounce up and down. So it doesn't have to be all singing and dancing, but you do need a tripod. And then if you're going to use your iPad or iPhone or those type of things, you can buy an adapter so that you can use your phone or your tablet on your tripod. This one comes with a little start-stop device, which I actually believe is more useful than you would think. So again, a means of clamping your iPhone or your phone to your tripod. And then, as we looked earlier, this is again 37mm. This is a means of getting your filters, my neutral density filter, up to the iPad or the tablet or the phone. So again, useful for you. I use the same work lights. In fact, these are where I use these lights. I have two of these. I have them fore and aft of my offside edge of the anvil. So I've got one by the bick, one by the heel, and they're shining down onto the anvil. Again, take care to make sure they're not shining directly into the camcorder's lens. And I like these. They're robust enough that it can stay in the shot and get bounced around. They're somewhat water resistant. They are a reasonable piece of kit, and they are the 5000 degree Kelvin. So what you see in colors are real. So this is my typical setup. You can see they've got them angled, my lights angled down. They're not shining back into the camcorder. This for me is the best angle for the camcorder. Excuse me. This to me is the best angle for the camcorder. I like it shooting down here, or I'll have it, this bar actually here is another frame. I've got a mounting up there for a camcorder. I actually have two camcorders, so I've got them both going at the same time. I use the battery. I don't use mains power, so I can move from here to the heel if I need to, if I'm doing some work here at the hardy hole. But I found that this is the best setup for me. You can change it as you need to, of course, but I like that. It's very simple, fairly robust, and it gets the job done. Setting up the camera. I've said that the hot metal is like a bulb. So let's treat it as such. Instead of a spotlight shining down on the piece is acting as its own spotlight. So I set my parameters for my camera up to spotlight. So not only have I got sunglasses for the camera, but this is also doing something within the camera to diminish that center spotlight. So that's important for me. You can set up the white balance. Depending on your camera, they each have different ways of doing the white balance. There should be an automatic white balance, and by white balance it tells you what is actually white and therefore will adjust all the other colors to suit. So you take a little piece of scrap paper, you put it on your anvil, point your camcorder to it and say set the white balance. It will set the white balance, and then all the other colors are recorded accurately. So here we are in Adobe Premiere Elements 2020. And I want to do a little bit of editing on a bit of video footage. I don't want to do too much because this is a very big program, and it's better if you just look at the software that you have in front of you and work with them. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save my work. At the moment you can see it just says new video project. So I don't want to lose any changes I make. So first of all, I'm going to save it, and that should ask me to title it. So I'm going to call it How to Zoom Part 2. And I'm going to save it, not here in Documents. I have a external hard drive, and I've already set up a file for it. It's a Zoom How To, and I've got a YouTube. And I'm going to say save. Excellent. So now I'm going to add some media. I can add my media here, or I can add my media here in the top left. It doesn't matter, it's the same button. So I'm going to hit add media, and I'm going to bring it in from a file or folder. I'm going to go all the way back to the root. So I'm going to go back to my hard drive because that's where I've got the video stored. I know it's in Premiere for Premiere Elements for me. And I'm going to go down to Zoom How To, excuse me, YouTube, and then I've got CBA Zoom Part 2. This is my rough out, so I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to import it. And there is my media. At the moment, I can't do anything with it. I need to bring it down here into my timeline to do something with it, so I'm going to click on that. I'm going to drag that down, put it here in Video 1. Takes a little bit of time, and I can see that's way too long, so I'm going to come over here, and that makes the clips shorter or longer in terms of fitting on my timeline. So I'm just going to make it just a little bit shorter so I can see what I'm doing. There's a couple of things that you can do. This is your play. So I like that, but these gray lines down here, that indicates my voice on the video. So if I bring this along somewhere close, I know I'm getting there, I can do two things. Can you see that red bracket, if you like, with the two black arrows? I can drag the end back in, and that shortens the clip so it starts just there. Let me see if I can undo that. There we go. So the other thing I can do is I can come here. If this was in the middle of a clip per se, I could cut this. Let's have a look up here. I can see I've got a little gap there. So I can cut that video, and that way I can move backwards and forwards depending, and I can always get it back. That's not a problem. So there we go. So I'm going to come here. First of all, I'm just going to get rid of the end. Okay. A couple of other things we can do. If I don't like the exposure, you can see in the top right here, I've got a fix button. I'm just going to click on that. And I have, let me get rid of this a little bit. I have lots of choices here, from a smart fix, which is automatic, shape reduction, if I have a little bit of that, some color if I need it, lighting, I typically use this, and I have some volume. So let's have a look at the lighting first. I'm going to click on that. What you have on the screen at the moment, what you brought in from the hardware, is this middle square of the 9. So I could choose to go darker. I don't like that. It's back where I was. Or I could choose to go lighter. Don't like that either. So let's go one lighter. Well, I can go with that. I'm going to go back to where I was. I can do the same with contrast, from no contrast to a lot of contrast. And then the same with exposure, from dark to light to back to where I was. Volume, I can bring my volume down. Now, when it says 0, around about there, 0 doesn't mean mute. 0 means that's exactly what was on the clip as you brought it into the editing software. If you brought it down here, down to minus 56 in this case, now you're getting down to a mute. So I'm going to bring this back to 0. Thereabouts. Close that. And this is your volume line here. So I can make it, again, I can make it louder, I can make it quieter, or I can just leave it as it was. And that's what I think I'm going to do. So let's play this. I can press this button, or I can press the space bar on my key. And I am going to mute the sound so you don't have to listen to this. And I'm just going to praise this a little bit. And there we go. Now you may get to a point where you've got something exciting in your video, not this one unfortunately, where you want to slow the movie down, where you want to show every blow that's going on. And again, for me, it comes back into here. And you can see it's a slightly different, still under the fix, but it's a slightly different set of instructions. So I've got pan and zoom, freeze frame, etc. And I've got time remapping. So let's click on that. And so I can add a time zone. And here's my zone here. So I can move this whole thing along. Let's move this up here. So I'm just looking at this bit that we've highlighted now. That's normal. I can slow it down, or I can speed it up. Turn it in reverse, etc. Whatever you want to do. I'm just going to slow it down. And then let's have a look at that. I'm going to click done, and then let's see what happens. Applying time remapping changes the playback speed and may go out of sync with the audio. Would you like to move the audio? In this case, yes, I would, because it does get laborious if you don't do that. And you can see my audio has gone. Next thing I've got for me is transitions. So you can see here I've got a clip, 2 clips, and I'd like to transition between the 2 of them. So I can come here to transitions. And for me, I like cross dissolve. I don't use anything else but these 2. So I'm going to use cross dissolve, dip to black, only those 2. And that's typically at the end of a section or at the end of a video. This is in the middle. So I'm going to click this, drag that across, place it right there, and it's going to ask me how long a duration. So I'm going to say 1 second, that'll be fine. Let's have a look a little more. Do you want that 1 second to come off the left-hand clip in between or the right-hand clip? And I'm looking here and I can see I've got a little bit of quiet time there. So I'm going to apply it to the left-hand clip. There we go. And we have a cross dissolve. So let's put our little cursor there and we're just going to play that. And then we should fade from one to the other. Look like I've moved my cut in the right place, does it? Okay, let's get rid of transitions. Next would be titles. So I like classic titles and I like the general title. This is the one I use most of the time. In fact, it could even be under my frequently used. There it is, in fact. So I can bring a title down and I'm going to bring it down to video 2. See the video 2 here? I can lengthen that title. So that's the duration it's going to run for. Well, let's click on that and let's see if we can't edit it. Here's the title. So first of all, let's get in here and highlight the text. So the first thing I want to do is I want to change the color. And I'm going to change the color to black in this case. I could equally go to orange. Let's make it orange. So I'm just going to sample it right here. I like that. I could go backwards and forwards if I didn't. A little deeper. Yeah, that's possibly better. I like that. Solid. Yeah. Okay. Let's change the size. I don't care for that large text. Let's go to 100 points. I'm just going to press enter so that goes in. I can have it centered. Here we go. And then you've got a choice of your texts, or you can go to a style sample. I like this birch black typically, so I'm going to go there. There we go. Highlighted it. And now I'm going to do California Blacksmith Association. I don't like that 100, so I'm going to change that to maybe 80. Press enter. That shrinks it a little bit. And I'm going to put that, again, I'm going to click the arrow and put that up here. And that's just so I don't get people trying to claim that this is their work. There we go, California Blacksmith. Get rid of that adjustment. And then export and share. So I want to export this so I can put it on YouTube or something. I'm hit the export and share. You got a couple of things. I could go to my device, which is I typically like to save it to my computer, or you could go online and save it to YouTube, Vimeo, etc. I don't care to save it on online, so I'm going to do mine to my computer. And this 1280-720 is the minimum that I can do with high definition. If I go one click over, you can see I start to go to standard definition. That's the minimum. And that's important for me. I do want high definition, but I don't want a great big file size. I live very rurally, and that file size is going to kill my bandwidth. So I'm saving it as an MP4. That's very usable, very editable. That's 725 megabytes. I can live with that. I'm going to call it How to Zoom Part 2. And then where do I want to save this? And I actually want to save it just there. But let's have a look. I'm going to browse. And you can see I'm in on my Lacy, Premiere, Zoom How To, YouTube. Yes, I like that. And it's going to be saved just in there. So I hit choose. And then if I was going to save it, it would save here. And then depending on how fast your computer is, it either takes a short amount of time or a long amount of time, depending on how badly you've got to crunch those numbers. I'm going to cancel that because I don't want to wait. And we are out of there. And now let's go back to our normal zoom.